Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H. With me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi. Hey, Tavi.
Hey, Dan. What's going on?
Long time no see.
Yeah, it has actually been a while since we've last recorded.
Yeah.
We stacked some episodes, and then you were in France.
I did. I took a short trip to France. Not that long, about a week.
Yeah, about a week.
Just to Paris. Yeah.
So you were doing a John Wick duel, right?
yes. I was challenging the Marquis.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I did all the Paris stuff, all that going to the Louvre, climbing the Montmartre steps, just getting hit by cars on Champs-Élysées. The Paris experience, the whole nine yards.
Yeah, the Paris. You had a blind Donnie Yen going, Dan?
Where are you, Dan?
Why are you, Dan?
Yes. But
still alive, Dan?
But no, it's good to be back. Good to be back on Australian soil and back in the recording booth. Ready to work again, Tavi.
Yeah, that's right.
Hopefully we still know how to do it.
Yeah. We'll be recording a few, and then I'll disappear for a little bit of time.
Yes, as will I. Actually, I'm taking another trip to Japan soon, so I might try I might try to do maybe a bit of content in Japan. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what time schedules are like. But eventually we are going to talk about a Netflix movie today, a Korean movie by the name of The Call. Kind of like a psychological time-traveling adventure.
Adventure, psychological thriller.
Yes. Well? Yeah, I think it's more of that.
Not to be mistaken with the one that has Halle Berry, which is actually it has a good director behind that one, Brad Anderson. He did Session 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna take your word for that. But before we do that, shall we do our reoccurring segment? What have we been watching?
Yes. I've actually been watching a fair bit. Do you want to let us know what you've been watching? What did you watch on the plane?
I watched so much on the plane. I had like a 21-hour flight with a 10-hour layover in South Korea. So I had a lot of downtime. That was one way as well. So another 20-ish hours on the way back.
Whoa,
I won't talk about everything that I watch, but I watch when I fly, I like to watch things that I don't have to pay too much attention to, but things that are kind of like enough of an attention grabber to like you can kind of drift in and out of sleep while you're watching these movies.
Like 12 Years a Slave.
We did watch that on a plane once, didn't we? That was probably not the ideal plane movie, in fairness.
It's like, wow, our first time overseas.
That was so
12
random.
Years a Slave.
We were going to Japan as well. We were so pumped, and then we decided to put on 12 Years a Slave. It's hard to stay pumped while watching that movie.
What did you get up to?
I watched like things like Black Adam. And Ant-Man, Quantumania, so that kind of stuff. I watched a couple of like good, interesting movies though. I watched 3,000 Years of Longing. Which is the George Miller. Starring
and
Idris Elba.
not Joji for our younger listeners. Actually, George Miller of Mad Max fame and Happy Feet fame, I guess.
That's right.
He's a weird director.
He is a weird director.
I can't really grasp what his style is. He just I haven't seen enough George Miller stuff.
Well, I think 3,000 Years of Longing is more akin to a Mad Max than a Happy Feet, I would say. There's a lot of kind of strange imagery and interesting sound design. And the concept itself is quite odd and interesting. Like basically it's Tilda Swinton's character discovers a genie in a bottle, and upon unleashing the genie, they have kind of like an intellectual discussion about like the nature of life and of desire, I guess. Because I guess the thing about her character at the start of the movie is she can't think of anything that she truly desires because she's quite fulfilled in her like simple existence. And like the genie is he wants her to make wishes to fulfill his like raison d'etre, I guess. So he's trying to convince her that there's a lot in life to desire. So that's kind of how this movie progresses, is him telling her stories to try to convince her that there are things that she wants in life. Like very interesting movie. I would recommend it if you're in the headspace for kind of like a more retrospective, mind-bendy experience, I guess.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like a film that I would like to watch. I just haven't really gotten myself into that headspace to go and watch it yet. But no, it's been on the radar, so it sounds like an interesting film. Sounds like a snobby movie, which is like, I'm surprised that you decided to watch it, because it's like I didn't think that you would be interested in watching it. So I'm actually quite surprised to hear.
Yeah, no, it's been on my radar. I enjoy an interesting film every now and then, Tavi.
Yeah,
and I did try to mix it up a bit between like the kind of turn your brain off entertainment and stuff that I could get a bit more into during the hours that I was actually mentally awake.
That's fair.
Yeah, which led me to the other movie that I want to talk about, which is Triangle of Sadness.
I've seen that one. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Black comedy, right? You'd call it.
Yeah. The dark comedy. Kind of like a not really a satire, but it's definitely a commentary of sorts.
Yeah,
it's definitely like an art house movie.
Yeah. Was it well received?
It was pretty well received amongst like filmies,
right, but not commercially successful, I imagine.
Yeah, it was commercially okay. Like, because the budget wasn't very big, and I think like a general audience, maybe it was a mixed reception. I'm not sure, but I think overall it was like quite well received. Because it's a weird movie, man. The structure is weird because there is no like. There's no like protagonist or antagonist or anything. It's just like a group of people and
things happen to them.
I
think it's more about the commentary, right? Like kind of a social commentary about rich versus poor and capitalism versus communism. I really enjoyed Woody Allen's character and his banter he had with his Russian counterpart. That was fun.
That was funny.
But like I think if you are a fan of the TV show White Lotus, you'll probably find this a good watch, but it's not as fast, I think, as White Lotus, and probably not as simple or not as like clear cut as White Lotus. I think. I think what's it called? Triangle of Sadness is definitely slower and probably a bit darker as well.
There's definitely a really funny sequence in this movie that is one of the more memorable film scenes of last year. I think you know which scene I'm talking about. It's the scene where there's like, because they're all like on this cruise ship, and I think they're in like some turbulent waters.
Oh yeah, okay. So the dinner scene is what you're talking about.
And everyone is just like, upchucking.
Yes.
And I found that scene really long and drawn out, but to a point where it's like really funny.
Yeah, it's just an absolute disaster. Like the biggest disaster you could have on a cruise ship. So it's a fun but uncomfortable watch, I reckon.
Yeah.
But what have you been watching?
Yeah. Well, I've been watching a lot of stuff as well, but I won't go through all of them. I think I'll drip them throughout the episodes.
Save some content for later.
But no, I did have a movie night with the boys a couple of weeks ago, and we watched The Sadness again.
Yes, I saw that.
We had a few drinks, and that was a good time.
Speaking of fun, uncomfortable watches,
and then immediately after that, we tried watching Beau is Afraid. Probably one of my favorite movies this year so far, and I think I've mentioned it a lot throughout this year so far. But yeah, we I think everyone was a bit too exhausted through anxiety. A lot of comments were, this movie is worse than The Sadness in terms of like how bad you feel when you're watching it. It takes a certain level of like you have to appreciate that really like dark comedy, that really cynical kind of cinema, which I'll probably talk about this movie a lot more in our end of the year episode, because it's definitely going to be in my list there.
Sounds like it's still on my list of things to watch.
Yeah. I've been talking to you about this movie as well.
You cannot recommend this movie more, Tavi. Yeah. I can tell you really like this movie.
Yes, I think it's really funny, but I'm a bit depraved. But going to a more mainstream film that I watched recently. I watched Mission Impossible on opening night. It's really, it was really entertaining. I really had a fun time.
Are you a big Ethan Hunt head?
I really enjoy the Mission Impossible series, but they're also like quite forgettable as well.
I know exactly what you mean. I put them like slightly above James Bond in terms of franchise enjoyment. Like they are extremely enjoyable while you're watching them, but they're not really movies that you go back to, right?
Yeah. Like I didn't watch Fallout, which was the previous one in the cinema.
That's a good one, Tavi. Henry Cavill has a mustache. He reloads his arms in a bathroom. It's cool, man.
And the fight scenes are really cool with Henry Cavill. I think the fight scenes are better in Fallout. But like, I think, what was this one called? See, I forgot. Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning Part 1. Yes.
Yeah. See, I forgot for a second then. This one has slightly higher personal stakes. And there are like consequences of that in this one, which which probably elevates it above some of the other Mission Impossibles. But it's got really fun action sequences. Tom Cruise does a really good job. I think Rebecca Ferguson's back. Simon Pegg and Big Rames is back as well.
Vanessa Kirby is back, right?
Yeah. Who else is there?
Simon. Yeah. Oh, you mentioned Simon Pegg. Yeah.
Yeah, Simon Pegg.
Is Jeremy Renner in it?
Nah, Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner hasn't been in it for the past couple, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't in Fallout.
He wasn't in Fallout. There was some reason for his character.
Apparently, he's got one more movie in his contract, but like he was severely injured recently, so I don't know if that's still on the table.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I think they're still in post production with Dead Reckoning Part 2, so it does end.
They filmed it already?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. There's not really that much to say with that. It's like, if you know what Mission Impossible is, and you are going to get exactly what you're going to be expecting from this movie.
I have one question about this movie. Because it's coming after a couple of films that are kind of like half a movie. Like we've had Fast X Part 1.
That's
Across
true.
the
Which I still haven't seen.
Part 1.
I have seen Spider-Verse as well, actually.
And now this is
really good.
Dead Reckoning Part 1. So it's kind of like this trend of you get half a movie now, and then you have to give us more money to watch the rest of it later. Does it feel like half a movie?
See, the way that these movies structure, and I guess I should talk about Across the Spider-Verse a bit as well, which I also really thoroughly enjoyed. I think I like Across the Spider-Verse more than Mission Impossible, actually.
Okay.
I thought it was really visually stunning movie.
It's an excellent movie.
Yeah. The way that the movies are structured are conclusive enough that it's not so abrupt. And it does like leave you like wanting to find out what happens. So there is definitely like they're kind of structured like how like a TV show is structured maybe, but I think all these movies I can't say for Fast X because I haven't watched it yet.
I can. That feels like half a movie. It kind of it's the most not to give away any spoilers for Fast X, but it's the most half-assed Endgame like Infinity War ending that I've ever seen. It's kind of okay. All right, I guess the credits are rolling.
Well, there's definitely like a build-up and there's definitely like a climax in both of these movies. So where it cuts for me, like I don't mind because I'm actually pretty patient with these kind of movies now because I have like a lot of other stuff to watch. So for me, I don't mind that. I mean, we used to do that with like Lord of the Rings, back in the day, and it just builds up that hype and.
There's definitely a way to do it to still leave the audience satisfied. Fast X didn't do it. But I did feel like Across the Spider-Verse did do it.
Spider-Verse did it, yeah.
Because like kind of like, it does end on a thing, I guess, but I don't know. It's a hard kind of hard thing to pull off to like finish a part one and still leave the audience satisfied. So
I felt pretty satisfied, and I would say the same for Mission Impossible, but that's also because it's like they're Mission Impossible movies. It's not like there's any unless I'm missing something. There's any like grand thematic element to it, because like the big thing about like Across the Spider-Verse, which might be a slight spoiler, is like Miles has to choose between like saving an entire world or someone that he loves. That's quite a big thing. And they kind of do that in Mission Impossible, but it's like also like not really as well. It's just like
Ethan Hunt never has to choose. He can do everything. He can have everything.
But now there is a choice in this movie, but it's kind of my criticism is that it's kind of brushed off pretty easily as well. So it's just like, because I think for that kind of movie, for such a plot-heavy film, it just has to move so fast. But the thing that I really liked about this movie, Mission Impossible, it's not even really a plot point, but it's got Pom Klementieff in it, and she plays like a henchwoman.
So this is the actress that plays Mantis in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mantis, and she's fucking hot in this movie, man. It's like, damn, she plays like this kind of like,
she looks like Harley
Quinn-esque. In one scene she looks like Harley Quinn. But it's kind of like her character's not really explained very much, but I think that's kind of cool. That way you don't really need to.
Is she playing like some kind of Bond-esque like henchman?
Yeah, she's a bit of like, she plays kind of like a psycho, like strong woman that like really kills a lot of people. But it's like, I just thought she was really cool.
Is her name Katana? And does her sword steal the souls of everyone it kills? I wouldn't mess with her, Tavi.
Nah, she plays I think her character's name is Paris. She's a French. She speaks French in the movie. But she's just like this henchwoman for the main antagonist in this film.
Okay.
Who is? I guess I shouldn't really. I'm not sure if it's really a spoiler or not. Just like this dude named Gabriel, who's like a Spanish guy.
Is that Antonio Banderas?
But it's I don't know. It's just some guy.
Okay.
I don't know the actor, but he's just like not as cool as he was the guy from The Stranger.
Sean Harris.
Sean Harris.
Sean Harris was pretty cool. He's always like, yes, Ethan, yes.
Sean Harris is probably the best villain so far in the MI franchise. This villain, he's all right. He has a funny like moment near the end of the film where like it's gonna happen, but like it's kind of funny.
Not gonna lie, I've completely forgot what happened to Sean Harris's character. He's
been locked up, hasn't he? He's just somewhere.
He was locked up at the end of Rogue Nation, and then he reappeared in Fallout. But I forgot what happened to him in Fallout. So.
He's probably just dead. I don't remember Fallout. See, that was the issue. That's the issue. I don't remember, and you don't really need to remember. I think like the plot of these movies, like you just follow for the ride, and you don't need to know that much.
But there is something to be said for rewatchability, though. Like we were talking, we were comparing them to the John Wick franchise, right? And we've definitely rewatched the John Wick franchise a lot more, and we know those
reenact
movies.
the scenes.
Like we know those movies a lot more as well, and maybe that's because the plot is simpler and less convoluted, so it's a bit easier to remember. But maybe it's also because they're a lot easier to revisit.
Yeah, I mean, like we have a bias for John Wick because it has a lot of the Asian cinema aspects that we like gun fu and martial arts.
It could be true. But even I remember the old Mission Impossibles a lot more than I remember these new ones. But maybe that's just the nature of they were just on TV a lot when I was young, and it's just seeped into my subconscious.
No, I mean, Mission Impossible's got one of the greatest theme songs of all time.
Definitely. Props to Tom Cruise as well. He may be crazy, but he's the right level. He's doing good things for cinema, and I respect that. I think he's a very passionate man who is really into his job. And yeah, good on him.
Yeah.
He's fucking 60, man.
Yeah, no, he's still like running around and doing stunts and
crazy.
Shit. Yeah. But
should we get to the main body of the episode, Tavi?
So I was somehow going to segue from hot psycho women into this movie.
Well, this movie does have hot psycho women in it as well.
Yeah.
Or one.
Yes, it does. It's got this is The Call. It's got Park Shin-hye, who plays Kim So-yeon. So she's basically she's I think she's just returning home, and then she's returning to her family home to look after her mother, who has like cancer, and you can tell that there's like a bit of a history between them. And like earlier in the film, she's like lost her phone, so she uses like this other landline phone, like this old landline phone in the house. And through this phone, she is receiving calls from Jong-seo's character, Yeon-suk, who is kind of being abused by her mother. But unbeknownst to both of them is that they are both in different time periods. So it's kind of like, it's very similar to a Korean drama that I wanted to watch and might still. It's called Signal. It's basically like the same premise as well. There's like this phone that like connects past and present. And I only recently found out that this is kind of a remake of a British movie called The Caller. So
it's a interesting time travel dynamic. Like so these two characters are linked via this phone. The character Yoon-suk is calling into the future. So Yoon-suk lives in 1999, right? And So-yeon lives in 2019, presumably. So maybe 30 years into the future, or 20 years into the future. So I think this movie is pretty spoilery. So I think we'll try to talk about it non-spoilers first, and then we'll give you fair warning before we start spoiling it.
But it is a 3-year-old film that is quite like I think it was kind of successful, but like it's probably not like trending now.
But if you want to go into it fresh, it's on Netflix, so just go watch it now and then come back to us. But we will do non-spoilers first and then and give you a spoiler warning.
So what drew me to this film initially was I knew this was Jong-seo's second film after Burning, which is like one of my favorite films of all time.
Oh, really? Okay. So this is before Mona Lisa?
Yeah, this is before Mona Lisa, so you can obviously see a lot of similarities in Mona Lisa, a film that everyone watched last year. So I had been following the production for this film, and I was also like, I also like Park Shin-hye as well, mainly because like back then, and I thought she was really cute, and I discovered her watching Running Man.
She's good. I think I saw her in #Alive. Is she? She's in that.
Yeah. She's actually a pretty good actress. She's in #Alive. She was really good. I think. Yeah, but she was known for being like the cute girl, the really like popular K-drama, like pure cute girl. So I think she wanted to do more like meatier roles. So she did The Call. She did #Alive.
Yeah. It's weird because I think every movie I've seen her in, she plays quite a stoic character.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, but back then she was just like the love interest. Like I remember watching this K-drama with her in it years and years ago after I discovered her through Running Man, and I just couldn't finish it because it was just shit. I was just like, no. I think it was called like Flower Boy Next Door or something.
Okay,
and it was just too
K-drama,
typical K-drama. Yeah, and I was just like, this ain't for me. I couldn't I couldn't finish it.
But it's a pretty common progression for a lot of actresses is to start off as the cute girl and then kind of want to branch out into more serious roles. I think Han Hyo-jo's kind of tried to do the same thing to varying degrees of success. She's done some meaty roles,
but she's still kind of like as someone who is like in love with Han Hyo-jo, she does kind of take the same role and take like. She puts her persona in all of her movies. I honestly think Cold Eyes is probably her most different role, but she's still pretty cute. She's just too charming. Man. She's just like
But no, your main draw to this film was
Jong-seo. Yeah.
So you really like her from Burning. Obviously.
Yeah, I think she's like one of my like favorite actresses of this generation, man. She's just got like this really interesting look, you know, like just. How can I say this delicately? Like she looks like there's something like this kind of something wrong with her. Like
she looks like a moody teen, is right. Yeah. She's quite natural looking. Like she just she looks very average compared to the I guess average Korean actress. To be honest, like
but there's just an element of like mysticism to her, I guess. And I think this just comes from Burning, maybe. Because I really like that character. Like Amy just seems like a very real character.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this actress is she does seem quite real, and like in a way that, you know, by the nature of Korean cinema and Korean TV roles, I guess, like. A lot of actresses kind of have to put on this persona where, you know, they're aiming for these kind of cute roles because that's the characters that are being written for the most part in Korean dramas. Whereas, like, I haven't really seen Jong-seo in that role. So to me, she, like, even when she's playing someone like Hae-mi, where she does have cute kind of elements, like, she still feels very real.
Yeah. Like, it was funny because I mean, we'll talk about the movie eventually, but I was watching. You probably know Knowing Bros, that variety show.
I do not.
I think it's just a bunch of Korean comedians and celebrities, and they like the setting is just like in a school, and the guests will like dress up as like
I've seen that.
And I think during the promos for this movie, Jong-seo and Shin-hye were on it as a guest for promoting this movie, and it was quite funny to see Jong-seo like. Be quite like chirpy, like as most Korean actresses like on that show, Korean idols, I should say.
Yeah.
So like whether she's putting it on or not is another story, but like she seems like quite like a bright person. Even though there were some articles like post Burning where people said like Jong-seo is like a bitch or something. But I think it's because she's got a little bit of a resting bitch face as well. But
which she utilizes in her acting quite well as well.
especially in this movie, she plays a fucking crazy.
Bitch. She's a crazy bitch.
Psycho bitch. Yeah, like a bitch. She plays like a bitch in
a cycle.
But so
this movie there is a bit of time travel elements to it, and I think the way that it is structured is quite palatable for the most part.
I think it's quite an easy movie to watch.
So like the thing is, like Yeon-suk, who is living in 1999, she can communicate with So-yeon, but on top of that, the actions that So-yeon can actually influence the past by telling Yoon-suk what's going to happen, and then Yoon-suk can kind of change the past and thereby change So-yeon's future. So that's kind of like the interesting kicker to this time travel situation is that they can actually change the future, which is So-yeon's present, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's an effective plot point, but it's also like if you are a stickler for like plot holes and things, you might not like this movie.
But I mean, this is like time travel in movies. Like it's par for the course. There are definitely like as soon as you put time travel in the mix, plot holes will inevitably arise.
Yeah.
But I think this movie it tends to kind of cover it up quite well. Like I was while watching this movie, I was never really like, but like. What if they do, like, why would that happen if there's, you know, like, I wasn't really questioning it. I was kind of just going along with the ride.
Yeah, I don't think that's really the point of the movie either. I think, like, the dramatic question is, like, what if you could change the past, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's it, really. But, like, it's not really a heavily themed movie, I guess. it can be violent at times. It's definitely not like a movie for kids. So it can be like
very tense.
Pretty heavy at points.
I would
it's
say
pretty
it's
tense.
Quite a tense film.
Yeah, but it's quite light. But it's, what I really liked about this movie on the second viewing, because I watched this movie years ago when it came out, and I surprisingly didn't like it that much back then for some reason, which I might get into a bit later. But when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, this movie's got like really good cinematography. Like there's a lot of really like nice shots. There's a lot of like the way that they've told the story, and I think that's because like you can ignore a lot of the plot points is because the story is told in a really compelling way. And I really liked the first act of this movie. I really liked the initial discovery, the setup. I really liked kind of the friendship between like Shin-hye and Jong-seo.
That's the thing that I found is like a lot of the time in these kind of horror / psychological thrillers, you are constantly questioning the protagonist's actions. You're like, why would you do that? Like that is a dumb thing to do. But when I was watching this movie, I could understand So-yeon's point of view and why she would like do the things that she did, even like if it turned out to be the wrong thing. Like I was never really kind of faulting her as just being a dumb person. I was like, like of course you would do that in that situation.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's why you may like forgive a lot of the things, is because like she's very like empathetic, you know, like. And some of the things she like does to, I guess, like she does make smart decisions that just don't work out well, you know. And she's under a lot of pressure.
And the way that the story, like the way that their relation is framed initially as well, like you could totally understand like why she would, do what she does, that kind of screws her over. So and like. Another thing I really enjoy in this film is like the production design as well. I feel like
it's really nice looking. Yeah, I was going to say that as well. It's just there's a lot of craft that's in this movie that I didn't really realize at first. I'm not sure why, because I was a pretty big filmie still back in 2020. Like I'm not really sure.
I think
was
probably
expecting.
Like the stigma of the Netflix film may have. Affected your like preconceptions of this film, maybe?
No, I don't know. Like I think back then I was expecting something a bit deeper, and I think I know what made me not like the film, and it probably goes more towards the end, which I'll probably talk. And I think it's still a big criticism of mine as well for this movie. But like I really like I like the two leads' performances.
They're top-notch.
I do. I'm as I say on this podcast pretty often, I'm a big fan of these. Like, I guess it does become like actor versus actor at points. There is some old boying as well, which I maybe not to the extent of
there's a bit of old desuing on So-yeon's
that's it.
part. But Yoon-suk is doing a lot of like crazy screaming as well down the line.
And it's pretty interesting to see. I was gonna say like there's like Park Shin-hye like swearing. That's probably not that natural for an actress who has had this reputation of being like a cute girl in a lot of dramas. So it's pretty refreshing to see her just like
snaps
and just like screeching. She snaps. That was fun to watch. And
Yoon-suk is, Jong-seo is much more in her element, doing a bit of like screeching through the telephone.
It is a little bit of overacting on her part
definitely.
as well.
I can see like her kind of balancing her levels for Mona Lisa. I think Mona Lisa is probably like the I guess that's right for that character, like that. But this is a bit extra.
She does do a little bit extra. Like, I still enjoyed her performance, but she's definitely chewing the scenery a little bit. There's bits where she's like convulsing and laughing maniacally, which is like she does a fucking like bichim seki like fucking pretty well, man. Like fucking she's you don't want to like mess with her, but it's like I mean Haimi is still her best role. Like with Haimi, like the character is like someone that you actually want to hang out with.
There's a bit of nuance.
You don't want to hang out. You don't want to hang out with Yoon-suk.
I think Yoon-suk is not a very nuanced character. All her craziness is up front and center. Well, with an exception, like the start, like she is fairly sympathetic, I guess.
She's a little bit cute at the start. But like, you can tell, and there's just a few like shots that really like there's like a switch, and I don't remember, but it's just kind of like you can just tell, all right, something's not quite right with Yoon-suk, and it's actually like quite subtle until like she starts like losing her shit. But it's kind of like I think the point of Yoon-suk's character. And I think what it represents is like that stigma of mental health and how it's like not very well received in Asian culture in general, because like there's a scene in the movie where it's revealed she's got like, BPD, she's got antisocial like disorder. She was in a mental institution, but she's staying with her like stepmother, or like just not really her real mum, but just someone, her carer, who is like, constantly beating her because she thinks she has a demon in her, and all this like shamanistic bullshit. And it is like, I think her character is like quite tragic as well, because it's like just this misunderstanding of like mental health. Like it's she's just, to her it's just like, oh, it's just demons and shit, like I gotta exorcise the demons out of her. And it's just like that constant abuse. So you can kind of like understand whether or not Jong-seo is actually like portraying someone who has BPD accurately. I'm not sure, but like she does portray that like very overtly and explicitly someone who is like crazy, I guess.
Someone who is mentally ill, and like the thing is like her stepmom is a shaman of sorts, so she
looks fucking evil.
She does look fucking evil. Which
you see her like that?
I mean, it allows you as the audience member to kind of accept So-yeon's actions at the start of the movie, because like she's clearly set up as an evil person. But I find it interesting that like the shamanism side of this movie is integrated in such a way that the stepmother is she's wrong in her thinking, I guess. Like she's like, I don't know, this might just be me watching it, but like the fact that she's trying to exorcise this demon from Yoon-suk, even though Yoon-suk is clearly just a psychopath, really. It's kind of like, it comes off as futile from what I saw. But like at the same time, there's this whole mystical time traveling aspect to this movie.
It's like, I think I get you. It's like kind of there is actually a mysticism.
What supernatural elements are accepted in this film, and what supernatural elements are discounted as like nonsense, you know what I mean?
As Beau. That's actually pretty. I was thinking that as well. It's like she is like being like a fake ass Beau shaman or whatever, but then there's this like kind of fantastical elements of time travel and like almost like to a Pan's Labyrinth extent.
I remember there's a point where like the stepmother kind of has a vision of like Yoon-seo's future, and it's kind of like, was that real?
Maybe, So I think, maybe the film is, maybe she was just right all along, but she's just going about it the wrong way, you know?
It could be that.
Which is, just thinking about it now, I'm not really sure if that's a good message to send. It's like, mental patients are actually demons and we should kill them all. So maybe that's not to the film's strength, just thinking about it now. But, there's a lot of these, like, kind of, like, fantastical elements where, like, things change. Like the paint, like I think the house was originally burnt because Seo-yeon's past is that like her mother accidentally left the stove on, and her as a kid was playing with her dad in this house, like the house like blew up or something, and she's got like a scar, and then like the dad comes back, and then it's like, she's like, thankful for that shit. But there is a point where I guess it's kind of
I think maybe we should get into spoiler talk now. Tubby. Yeah, I mean, before we do, I think this movie is worth a watch. I mean, it's on Netflix, definitely. So why not?
It's it's got a really cool premise, which is probably not as intimidating as we may, or the logline makes it seem to be.
It's not Tenet.
It's not Tenet, you know. Yeah, it's pretty easy to watch.
I think it's just a psychological thriller, really.
Yeah,
the time travel elements are kind of more of a plot device than like anything else. I think it's quite easy to follow, and it is very intriguing, I think. Top notch performances on both parts, I think.
No, if you've known these actresses from before, especially like Shin-hye, she's been in the game for a while. Like, it's quite interesting to see her do something that's like more, I guess, adult or more mature, which you probably see in #Alive as well, which I think is an underrated movie too. Let's just get into the spoilers.
Mm-hmm. So as you were saying,
with the dad, so like he comes back and he's all like, how you doing? And she has a crying moment. I wonder, like, does that change? Does it doesn't really change what she thinks in her past? Yeah, it's just kind of like,
she doesn't get any new memories as like the butterfly effect, like with that Ashton Kutcher movie would have done. I mean, that's one wrinkle in this whole time travel thing. I mean, like So-yeon gives Yoon-suk information that helps Yoon-suk save So-yeon's dad's life in the past, thereby making him alive in So-yeon's present. It also somehow cures her mum's brain tumor.
Brain tumor, because she doesn't have any more stress.
I guess stress causes brain tumors. I'm not a doctor, so I'm going to take the movie's word on that. By doing that, So-yeon kind of like gets this kind of happy life because both her parents are alive and they're all happy, and their house is much nicer as well.
Their house is nicer.
But then the movie takes a dark turn when So-yeon, after building a relationship with Yoon-suk, she decides to
spend more time with her family.
Which makes Yoon-suk a bit bitter and a bit jealous. But then So-yeon makes the mistake of telling Yoon-suk that her mum is probably going to kill her. So in 1999, in Yoon-suk's present, her mum is trying to exorcise this demon from her, and she's convinced that Yoon-suk is evil and that she has a dark future awaiting her. So her resolution is that you better kill Yoon-suk before this gets out of hand. And So-yeon, because she lives in the future, she's able to look at the records and see, her stepmom killed her on such and such date. So she warns Yoon-suk, which causes the Yoon-suk's past to change. She stops her mum from killing her and murders her back instead. This kind of changes the film, right?
I think the point when you were talking about it then, it's like after she saves So-yeon's father, she's like, oh, this is cool. I think that's like, there's a particular shot there where she's like, all right, this bitch is crazy. And eventually she becomes jealous of So-yeon to the point where like So-yeon is ignoring her calls. And then she eventually like murders her father because like they're in the past. Well, actually, no, there's like this really, before that, there's like this pretty like interesting like I'm a Free montage where there's like this heavy metal playing, which is kind of cool. Because I think there's the big connecting thing is like, I think they're both like Seo Taiji fans, who I am not sure of. I'm sure he's pretty popular. I harp on about like listening to Asian metal, but I don't know about this guy.
Like a retro Korean artist, pretty obscure by our standards, I'm guessing. But
maybe. And then she goes into the kind of like the fun dress up montage where she's like wearing these like ridiculous clothing and shit.
So killing her stepmom kind of liberates her in a way. She's allowed to be free to do what she wants. Like, because she was being abused, in fairness, by her stepmom, like being held captive, being whipped.
Which is why it's understandable. The whipping scene where she's like, that was very over the top.
The fucking exorcism scene, man.
It's really like she's Jong-seo is really like losing her shit, and I guess like it's on a side note, I think she ended up dating the director after this movie, really? So must have been like, I really like the way you did the exorcism, so I'm attracted to you now, and let's date. This is this guy's debut film, debut feature, and he's like a pretty young dude.
What has he done since?
I don't know. Like, I'm on the wiki. You can't click his name, so I don't think he's done anything after this. He's probably working on stuff because this movie is relatively new. But young guy. He's younger than me. So 1990. Lee Chung-hyun.
I think the direction is quite competent.
He's doing another Netflix movie. He's doing Ballerina, which also has Jong-seo in it as well, and it's supposed to be like
not the Anya de Armas film, is it?
No, it's not the Anya de Armas movie. It's it's supposed to be like it's funny because it's supposed to be an action film from what I have read about it. So he's working on other stuff, and I guess he's like doing the Paul W.S. Anderson, Mila Jovovich route, just cast my my wife or partner and everything,
and let the money roll in. Paul W.S. Anderson's School of Filmmaking.
Good on him. If he makes more entertaining stuff, I'm pretty like excited to watch that movie. As well.
I think this film is pretty competently directed. I think, like you mentioned, there are like scenes where like time is kind of breaking, right? Like there are kind of these major time changes, like Yoon-suk saving So-yeon's dad is one change where and once that happens, rather than things like kind of continuing on as normal, there's like this kind of weird like warping situation going on where like So-yeon is falling through the floor, and there's like the wall is like fragmenting away.
It's almost like a Alice in Wonderland kind of thing.
So like that something major has happened, like something major in the past has happened to kind of change the future in a big way. So that's why they kind of have to like morph the environment to make the house look like all nice and stuff, and like they change her hair as well and her clothes. So there are a couple of those moments in these films, and I think they look pretty good. Budget limitations taken into account, I think they were enjoyable to watch.
There's a scene where when Jong-seo kills So-yeon's dad, and it's like with the way he like disappears, he kind of like realizes. It's kind of like, it was kind of, I don't know, I found it like kind of funny where he's like, oh shit, I'm not alive anymore. And he has this like
he has this
expression.
This look
it's really
acceptance
dramatic.
And like understanding, even though probably shouldn't happen that way. You should kind of just disappear.
It's kind of like, I don't really know if he would do that, but that's just part of telling the story, I guess. But we're followed by a pretty like fun performance by Shin-hye chewing the scenery, as we say, Odessoing, where she's like she calls Jong-seo's character Yoon-suk, and she's like, shit.
I think this happens when Yoon-suk has killed her dad and has captured the young So-yeon, and that's like a really interesting plot point as well, because their lives actually intersect. So Yoon-suk can interact with the young So-yeon, and So-yeon also interacts with the old Yoon-suk at the end. So I found that really interesting. So like Yoon-suk has kind of captured the young So-yeon and is about to torture her, right? And she's like, and you kind of feel like her despair and her she can't do anything in that situation because she can't go back into the past.
You can't go back in time, and
so
like, you can feel it,
Yoon-suk has all the power in that situation. And like throughout the movie, Yoon-suk has all the power because she's the one in the past. She can attack this young version of Soyeon at any point. And like even if Soyeon finds the modern day version of Yoon-suk, like that won't affect anything in the past. Really.
Yeah.
So like throughout the movie, you do feel like Yoon-suk has all the power, and it's in this scene where that culminates in Soyeon just losing her shit because fear and frustration. I guess she's just like Shiba, and then like all of a sudden she's like miane.
There are some like things that she does do though. Like she tries to trick Yoon-suk into going to like certain gas accidents that happened during those times.
I wouldn't have thought of doing that. Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah, so that's pretty smart. Yeah, it's hard because when you're writing a plot like this, you have to think like how would someone like try to figure out how to affect things that have happened in the past. You know, like how would you do that? So I thought that was a pretty clever like plot point. But it obviously didn't work. My biggest criticism of this movie, and I guess this is like talking more towards the end of the film, is that Seoyeon's dad is now he's dead, but her mother and a cop are like suspicious because Seoyeon as a kid in '99 has been kidnapped by Yoon-suk. So like there's like a missing persons report, and then the mother is like investigating the house with this cop who's suspicious of Yoon-suk.
Yeah.
And it's like she, somehow, like, you know, she manages to get the phone that Seoyeon has been, like, communicating with. And then it just leads into this kind of back and forth between, there's kind of like a fight, not a sequence, but there's a pretty tense sequence of Yoon-suk trying to, like, chase her mother down in the past. Yeah. But eventually it's like the mother does actually, like, fend off Yoon-suk, like he pushes her off the balcony. But in the present time, Seoyeon is like trying to get away from the present Yoon-suk.
So older Yoon-suk.
Yeah, older, yeah. So it does like culminate into a happy ending because her mother like survives and whatnot until like the post-credits scene. And I think because the post-credits scenes happen and it reveals that and it is foreshadowed earlier in the film where she's like the older Yoon-suk calls younger Yoon-suk, and she says like you might die tonight, just be careful. What happens is Yoon-suk is still actually alive, and then you see Shin-hye and her mother like walking along this really picturesque like road, like this really beautiful scenery, and then her mother suddenly disappears, and then she just wakes up and she's like in like a torture chair. And like I didn't like that ending. I just thought it's weird because I don't mind a downer ending. I mean, like, you know, I saw the devil, even maybe just I can't think of any. There's heaps.
I think
recently.
I think I know what you mean. Like this kind of reminded me of the ending of Remember, where it's kind of it's a downer ending, but it also feels a bit tacked on. You know?
It feels forced. Yeah, it's just like I don't know. It didn't really add anything.
It's like the equivalent of adding a question mark to the end. You know,
because it doesn't really make sense that her mother disappeared when Yoon-suk is pushed off, because like she wouldn't disappear if she was still alive anyway. So like
no, well, I think the implication is Yoon-suk would have just gotten up after falling off that railing and killed the mum again.
Yeah, but like she would have already because she would have done that. She wouldn't have done that, like, whether or not she's been pushed off a balcony, like, if she had the knowledge, like, would she survive any more, like, a fall off a balcony?
That's right, yeah. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, so I think that's when it's, like, it kind of broke, like, throughout the whole movie, my suspension of disbelief was pretty well held, I guess, until, like, that post-credit scene where it's just like, I don't know, like, it just was just too... it just felt too tacked on, and that's why when I first watched this movie, I didn't really like it. I was just like, this like it's kind of a downer for the wrong reasons, I guess. It's just like it just it didn't fit, and like you just like I guess there's points where you just watch the whole character like struggle. I mean, like there's a movie I watched very recently called Sorry We Missed You, and that's got I talked to you about this movie, and this movie has like a massive downer ending, but it kind of suits what that film is trying to say. Whereas this one, I don't know, it just felt like someone who was trying to be a bit too edgy and just like that's how horror movies should end. I don't know, just like, and I still don't like it. But like no,
I mean I completely understand that, and like when I watched that I was like, oh yes, feels a bit tacked on, but I mean everything preceding that was fine, I think. I think it's just kind of like the fact that it is kind of tacked on makes it a bit easier to forget that it happened. Just kind of erase it from existence.
So you hear a lot of people who will watch a movie and they'll say like, what's the point of this movie? And like sometimes it's like, haven't you been following whatever? But like I kind of felt that way when I watched it at the end, like that many years ago. Like what's the point of this movie? You know, like it kind of felt like the weight of the movie's story was crushed by its premise. So I think like the screenwriter or the director was just having so much fun with the premise, with the going back and forth, that like it was just like it added just too much. Where it's like, it
doesn't really make sense as well, because like the future Yoon-suk is like, keep the phone by you just in case. Even if things go wrong, keep the phone with you. But like, what is she going to tell her past self that's going to allow her to survive a fall from the second story?
That's exactly, It just, it's a bit, it doesn't, I know we're saying it doesn't make sense in a film about time travel, but the film does establish its rules like pretty well, and it does like pretty much follow them quite consistently until I don't know, just I think I just wanted a happy ending, even like I was just saying, like, it just didn't, I don't think it worked that well, and I didn't watch the movie for like another 3 years. I'm like, because like I mean there's like two actresses that I really admire, and I was just like, it just left me a little bit underwhelmed.
I think it does feel like just the need of the psychological thriller to have a twist ending is kind of just,
I mean, if you're gonna talk about like, I mean, Tale of Two Sisters, that has a downer ending, but like that's a beautifully like sad ending for a magnificent film where it made sense. Whereas,
this felt like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. Just a twist for the sake of a twist.
So I can just picture like M. Night Shyamalan like talking about this movie. It's like, and then, but she's not actually dead. And then everyone was shaking in their boots after, like, it's just like fucking like talking it up. Like, come on, man. Like, you don't have to have a twist. Just like sometimes the film happy endings can like suit for a reason. You know,
I was happy with the ending pre credits ending.
I think I'm just thinking about it. I think if he did want to have that downer ending, I think there is probably a better way to do it. I had thought of it and then I'd lost it. So, but I think it just needed a little bit more time under the broiler.
I did like the foreshadowing of future Yoon-suk talking to past Yoon-suk, but maybe she could have conveyed some information that, maybe like put a mattress under the second floor balcony. That'll help. So, I don't know, because like. And it's kind of hard because you don't know what kind of memories they have, right? Like, does old Yoon-suk remember falling off that second story balcony? Presumably she doesn't, because like So-yeon hasn't had those memories, like even though the future is changing. So, I mean, it's kind of like, inevitable plot holes because of time travel elements.
But I mean, that aside, as you said before, I think like on rewatching, I enjoyed this movie a lot more because I kind of knew what I was expecting, but because I hadn't watched it for quite a while, I was just like, I'll just watch some pretty fun performances, some I guess some interesting symbolism here and there. And I just liked watching these two actresses duke it out. Even Jong-seo, like super crazy Jong-seo. I'd still hang out with her in real life because I think she's cool. I think she's actually quite lighthearted in real life, is what I've seen in some of her variety show performances and stuff.
I think she's pretty cool. I think both these actresses do a great job, and I mean, I would watch this film if you haven't watched it and you've stuck around. Yeah, I mean, it's still worth a watch, I reckon. Yeah,
it's still worth a watch. It's a good popcorn movie, I would say. It's quite easy to just sit and like, even if it sounds complicated, like you can still like, for example, I mean, like, I know, like, actually, when I was watching Mission Impossible, there was this woman who was next to me who was on, like, her phone the whole time during the movie. And it was really, like, irking me. So if you're one of those people who just cannot, like, for the life of them, just not look at their phone for a bit and be distracted, you can still follow what's going on in this movie.
You can pay half attention to this film and still get it. Get the enjoyment out of it. It's fine. And it's on Netflix, so why not watch it, you know?
You should give your full attention to the movie because it's good. There's actually there's some good crafts going on in this movie. But yeah, I'm not sure if I've got too much more to say
about
this movie.
The inevitable Hollywood remake, Tavi?
Yes, that's right.
Is it Jenna Ortega for both?
No, I actually do have like some. I do have legitimate actresses.
Oh, okay.
So Yeon-suk is Mia Goth, just like that's Mia Goth's wheelhouse. And maybe for Seo-yeon, you could do like either like Elizabeth Olsen or an Emily Blunt, I reckon. And they're not like necessarily like going for that cute Shin-hye look, but you're not going for that in a remake. You're going for like someone else's like other charms, and I think those two actresses will do a good job. And I would get like Scott Derrickson to direct because I'm not sure if it was because both movies have bones, but this movie did remind me a little bit of the Black Phone.
There are parallels between this and Black Phone.
So no, I'd actually pick those guys. And I honestly think it might not even be a bad remake. I mean, like this movie itself was already a remake of a British movie.
Sure.
Hashtag Alive was a remake of a American film. So I think that could work. Like it might be good. And then it's produced by Disney. It'd probably be shit. But you know, it's like maybe I'll get the happy ending that I wanted in this new movie. But no, do you have a?
I mean, this movie kind of reminded me a lot of like Last Night in Soho as well, which I watched fairly recently. So probably, I mean, like those guys could do it. Anya Taylor-Joy, Thomasin McKenzie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't think about that too.
And M. Night Shyamalan.
Kind of quite similar. Shyamalan,
Get Matt Smith in there at some point as well, just to be there. He can be the strawberry guy that gets.
It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't like. I mean, Last Night in Soho was one of my favorite movies of 2021.
Yeah, it's got similar mind-bending, time travel aspects to it.
Yeah, actually, no. I think that movie is a good example of the happy ending that works out. I guess that's a spoiler, but yeah, Last Night in Soho has a happy ending.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think maybe Last Night in Soho was probably the version of this movie that I would like to have watched. Like this kind of mind. Yeah, it's actually just, there's so many parallels now. I'm just thinking about
we didn't talk about Last Night in Soho enough in this episode.
Actually. I mean, like, we go over hours talking about, just like I wonder if, interesting, Last Night, I like Last Night in Soho better.
I think Last Night in Soho works maybe a bit more.
It's Last Night in Soho is there's a bit more of an ode to like campy hammer horror. Like the British hammer horror days. But I guess that this podcast is not about old films. So I won't harp on about
Maybe they should have leaned more into the 1999 Korean nostalgia in this. They didn't do much of that. So, I don't know. Maybe that would have appealed to Korean audiences a bit more.
You might lose the Western audience a little bit with that one because they were like, "Who the fuck is Seo Taiji?"
That's true.
Oh, there is a bit like the Pelicana chicken.
Oh yeah,
which we actually can get in Australia.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, Pelicana. Maybe I'll get some Pelicana after this. Yeah, the way she's watching the ad, I'm like, ooh. That looks nice.
When she eats it finally, like after killing her stepmom, and she's eating the Pelicana chicken, it looks delicious.
Yeah. Fun fact about Pelicana. It's actually me and Risky's ritual that we every time we watch a movie at Pentridge together, we always eat like Pelicana like before or after. So it's just like, maybe if this movie was showing in the cinema, we just watch it at Pentridge. Maybe if it would never will, but if it ever got like a re-release at Pentridge Cinema, I'd go watch this movie and then eat Pelicana. I think this would be a good cinema film. There's a lot of cool effects. I like watching these kind of smaller, like not grounded, like smaller personal stakes movies. Should I say? Yeah. Grounded, I would say like more mid-budget movies, which
I mean compared to Mission Impossible.
Compared to Mission Impossible and Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Which also has a time travel aspect to it, from what I've heard. Yeah. The Dial of Destiny, but is probably like worse than this movie. I'd watch this movie over that movie. Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be very good. But anyway, before I hop on,
but guys, what did you think about The Call? If you've seen it, did you enjoy it as just a fun, psychological thriller, or were you put off by the time travel aspect of it? Let us know. You can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at twoasianblokes or TikTok on at
do we have a TikTok now?
We've got a TikTok, Tavi. Be excited. There's pretty much the same stuff on our Instagram.
I mean, for the sake of marketing, I'll say, I knew that. For the sake of me, I didn't.
Tavi, we have a Threads account, Tavi. Do you know what Threads is, Tavi?
I don't know what
Threads is like the Twitter for Instagram users.
Is that new? Oh, yeah, it's a new thing. Yeah, apparently there's been some discrepancies between Twitter and Instagram about that. But
follow us on Threads. We hate it. Until then, guys, take care.
All right. See you later, guys.
See ya.